Hey, what is going on, everybody? Desir here with a week 2 analysis of Cosmic Crucible Season 7. At the start of the season, I did a video kind of going over what defenses you can kind of look for. This one here is going to be a little bit more up to date. What I am doing for this video is I looked at the MSF counter spreadsheet that we have for the community. Currently there's about 190 counters on there, so I went through each stage, did a breakdown as far as what teams were used on defense, what offense team was used as far as something that would give the most trouble. With that resource, I was able to determine about 4 teams per stage like I did before. So you're going to have some options in this video of defensive teams that you can use for the upcoming weeks. I'll try to keep this up to date every couple weeks so that way we have more evidence of what defenses are kind of the best ones that you can go with. That's very important this season because right now it's a very offensive minded season to where typically in the past a 50,180 point scorer would be very good for you. In this season, it's about 50,190 points that you want to aim for, and even that won't guarantee you a victory. I had a loss last week to where a 50,207 points was given up by myself to my opponent. And I've seen other screenshots and people say that they got over that 200 point threshold, which is pretty crazy if you think about how efficient those attacks really were. Now, the big things that you want to look for are going to be, do you want to go with that turtle heavy defense? Do you want to go a more balanced approach or a little bit more on the offense? For myself, I am a little bit more on the offensive mind because I want to try to hit those higher points while still trying to set a few teams up to where it's going to pull multiple big targets. Now for the big targets, I'm talking about the Cabal, Superior 6, Apocalypse, and Super Scroll. Usually those are on offense right now because Super Scroll is pretty easy to counter with the Cabal team. The Black Knight's usually going to be on the defense because Super Scroll's not really on defense right now. Apocalypse, you can kind of place him on offense or defense right now, I feel. I still prefer him on the offense personally. Now the big thing's going to be your Superior 6. Where do you want to place them if they go on defense, or do you want to keep them on the offense? I'm keeping mine on offense still. I feel that they are pretty easy to counter by doing that Dorky special or Juicy special, where it's going to be a Doom with either Spider-Man Noir or Eternals, or maybe you go with the other one where it's the Super Scroll with Doom. Either way, the Superior 6 is fairly easy to beat unless there's another big threat target with them, like maybe a Black Knight or Apocalypse. In regards to the Cabal, I did update the graphic that you see here to where there's 2 characters that you can place with them and make a very good team. The first is that Kang in Titania that people like to break up the Masters of Evil for. If you're going against a Mystic heavy team, the Morgan and Agatha I feel works pretty well on this. There's the Omega Red with Emma Frost, which people have been using. My personal favorite though is that Lizard with the Vulture. That's a very good counter against the Secret Defender Super Scroll that I've been seeing on defense every now and then. It just really has a high efficiency win rate. Now let's get started by diving into the rooms. We're going to start with the stage 1, so let's go ahead and check those teams out. For stage 1, Full House, Striker characters with ability block will get a 50% damage increase. Raider characters on turn, if their ability block, they're going to clear that and then heal 10% of the max health. Skirmisher characters, they will apply ability block. That does mean to multiple targets as well if it is a multiple target hit or AoE. Now the team I plan on using this upcoming week is going to be the one on the top left. It's going to be Black Knight with Captain America, Phoenix, Gambit, and Rogue. So Phoenix will be able to give an extra health boost to Gambit and Rogue. Black Knight and Gambit will be doing the retaliates. Rogue, she has very good control to her and works very well with Gambit. So that's kind of what I'm planning to use this week. For the ISO selections for that team, I'm going to keep Black Knight a striker. That's going to let those bleeds do a lot extra damage every time he retaliates. Captain America, I'm going to keep him a healer. Phoenix, it really doesn't matter because she'll most likely die early. Gambit and Rogue I'm going to have as Raider, that way they can't be ability blocked. Another good defense is going to be Black Knight with the Extreme X-Men. Now, I don't have any data on the MSF counter spreadsheet with this one. I have seen it ran though, and it usually does pull a big team like a Superior 6 with Apocalypse. For the ISO selection for this team, I would keep Black Knight as a striker. Cyclops can be a striker as well. Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Forge you will want as a Raider. For the third team, this is going to be more of the turtle heavy team. It's going to be your Superior 6 and Black Knight, or what's commonly called right now the Superior Knights team. You're going to take Spider Slayer out, you're going to put the Black Knight in. As far as ISOs for this team, Black Knight again can be the striker, and then Green Goblin, Kraven, and Doc Ock I would make a Raider, and then Lizard I would actually make a Skirmisher. That way if your Lizard does go first, he's going to try to put ability block on multiple targets. The counter for this team is going to actually take a high investment as well, which is going to be like a Cabal with Apocalypse or Superior 6 with Apocalypse. And even then, that's a very dangerous matchup. I did a 400k punch down and the ISOs were incorrect on this team, and I still almost lost it. So this is a very dangerous team. So if you're looking for that turtle heavy build, that's the team I would probably go with in here. For the fourth team that I have in here, it's going to be the Extreme X-Men with Dorm. This team here is usually going to take like a Masters of Evil, which means they can't use Masters of Evil elsewhere. So it's still going to pull something fairly big and something very important. For the ISOs for this one, I would do Forge and Nightcrawler as a Raider. Sunspot, Cyclops can both be strikers. Dorm you can do as a Raider. That way he can clear that ability block and heal. Even if he does get ability block, he ends up using his basic, and that usually fills his speed bar by 80%. So if you want, you can actually go with maybe a Fortifier would work pretty well. That way if they try to sack this team to try to make it a little bit easier, or if he ends up coming back with the full health, it kind of makes it where the follow-up's going to be a little bit more difficult. For the Fortifier ISO, I'd really only use that though if you have a big Dorm, because otherwise he's still going to be fairly easy to kill if you have a smaller Dorm because of the way this room works. Stage 2 is the Raid-On Crucible, which is this stage here will activate all of the raid bonuses for the teams. So obviously you want to go with a raid team in here. The one I will be using is again on the top left. It's the Pegasus team. The counter for this is going to be either the Bifrost team, which a lot of people are still using on defense, or they can go with a mirror match of Pegasus, which I have seen that fail. So it's going to be kind of a risky play if people do want to try to go in with the mirror match on this one. For the next team that we're going to talk about, it's going to be the Bifrost team. This is the most common one that we're seeing on defense right now, but it's also one that has the most counters. Now, if they are under about 2 million power, I've seen some huge punch-ups of the Black Order team doing about 1 million to about 1.2 million punch-ups into the Bifrost team, which you can find those on the MSF counter spreadsheet. Another team that counters this I've seen is going to be the New Warriors team. Again, that's going to be about the 2 million power threshold, and then they could kind of punch across with maybe a little slight punch up in there. Then there is going to be the Pegasus with Void Knight counter. That also works in here because the Void Knight doesn't actually trigger the safeguard on the other team until he takes his turn. And usually Pegasus will do a lot of damage by then as well. The Hive Mind is another counter that works into this. However, that one's going to be a little bit more risky. And again, Bifrost scales very well. Once they hit about 3 million power, it feels like a totally different team, and a lot of those counters really won't work. So depending on which one you have more diamond or power into is the one I would kind of go for if you had to flip a coin between Pegasus or Bifrost. The next two teams that we're going to talk about are the hybrid teams. The first one being the Extreme X-Men with Rogue. The reason that this one is important to know about is because Rogue adds a monkey wrench into the counter, where people would typically use Hive Mind into the Extreme X-Men as that rock, paper, scissors counter. So now they will have to either use Pegasus in here or they're going to have to burn their Bifrost Super Scroll, or burn their Superior 16. Now the issue with that is that the Extreme X-Men work so well in all the other runes that they're going to pull either the Superior 6 or a Super Scroll or Masters of Evil anyways, and you can still put like a Pegasus or a Bifrost in here, and that still could pull a couple defensive wins for you. That's why I'm not too big of a fan of that one, but I definitely see the appeal of it. The fourth team that I want to talk about is going to be that Bifrost with Deathpool team. This one kind of came out from last week as far as a big team that's been going in stage 2. The gimmick on this one is going to be that Deathpool actually gives turn meter on spawn to Mystic allies and raids. So that's going to be the full Bifrost team. Bifrost already starts off pretty fast because of the bonuses that they get in raids. And this is going to make it to where that Sylvie is going to start with that turn 1 ult, do a turn meter rewind, hit everybody very hard on that turn 1, and then kind of keep you on your back foot until you eventually have your turn to go at it. The counters for this team is going to be either a Hive Mind with Super Scroll, or if it's a small enough team, then Bifrost should be able to do like a Punch Across on it. Again, Bifrost scales very well, so if it's like a 3 million team on here, trying to go in with that pure Bifrost could bite you in the butt, and you're going to have to use that Super Scroll anyways. The cons of this is that you are losing out on a new Warriors team who doesn't have much value, but they still have some value in this Cosmic Crucible season, because I can use them with a Apocalypse and do counters on certain teams this season already, so I am losing some of my offensive power. I would love to use this team on defense, however, my Pegasus team is a little bit bigger than what this team would be. I need to pump the rest of the characters up and get more diamonds on them, and I don't really want to invest any more into the Bifrost team right now because they should be the next team that gets replaced in the raid, so I'm kind of done building my Bifrost. If you have a higher team of your Bifrost, this is a team I would definitely look at doing, so I want to give you a heads up about that. Stage 3 is Aggroed. That's the stage where on turn, if a character has taunt, they're going to get offense up, and on turn, they're going to get assist now if they have offense up as well. So this is the stage where it could cause some issues. Typically, Echo has been making a resurgence because she shuts down those assist now mechanics. The team I plan on using in here is going to be that top left one. So it's going to be the remaining 4 characters from that Extreme X-Men team, and then I'm going to add Dorm in as the 5th in here. As far as counters for this, there really isn't any that's out right now. I do believe that Masters of Evil with Echo should still be able to kind of shut this down, but I think it's still going to be a little more difficult because that Dorm. Unless Kang ends up getting that ultimate off and one-shotting everybody, they should be coming back. The next team on the list is going to be Dazzler, Quicksilver, Gambit, Rogue, and Spider-Man Noir. This one here is a little bit interesting. The way this one plays out is Spider-Man Noir will go first, and then there's going to be an RNG check on the Quicksilver. If he gets speed up, he will be going next and could potentially delete somebody. If he gets the offense up, he'll be doing an assist off of the Spider-Man Noir's turn, and that can also cause issues to where somebody could just get killed off. This team here should counter the New Warriors if people try to use that in here. The Masters of Evil, I don't see anything showing that they beat this team on defense. The teams that were listed is going to be like the Cabal team or a Super Scroll team. I'm not sure if that's what was left over when the attack was done, but it did pull some pretty good teams on the spreadsheet, so I want to add that one onto this list. The next team is going to be the 4-piece Extreme X-Men, and you're going to drop the Gambit because you can use him in that stage 1 as well with Rogue, and then add in Bishop. I went against this one last week, and the Bishop definitely made it to where the Masters of Evil failed the attack because Titania had to hit the Bishop first. I couldn't get the vulnerable on the Nightcrawler to where I can work him down, or even start working on the forge. So it definitely was interesting on how Bishop changed that matchup so drastically, and I ended up dropping the attack because I couldn't kill Cyclops in time before his ult went off. Instead I went for the Sunspot because I didn't want him to do his AoE hit on me. So it's kind of a choice on which one I had to take out, and obviously I failed that attack. This was a very interesting defense. I want to throw it on here. So if you do have that a very big Bishop, which this one was like a G17, it's worth kind of looking at because it will stop that Masters of Evil counter that people typically will use in stage 3. In the final team that we have on here is going to be the Infinity Watch. This team here doesn't really pull anything fantastic. What they do though is they survive. This team is always going to be that efficiency killer for you. Now, the big team that people can use against this to get a better efficiency is going to be Masters of Evil, because they keep doing those assists. So they can potentially live longer than the other teams on here. But regardless, it's always going to come down to Kang using his ult and aiming to get that one shot on the full team, because characters killed by that cannot be revived, which means that the Nebula, Gamora, and Adam Warlock, if they get killed by that, then the match is just over. So that's a team that people are using in here just to try to get that little bit extra efficiency to get the edge on the opponent. For stage 4, Unstable Energy, this is the stage where villain characters' ultimates cost 2 less ability, but their max health is also lowered by 25%. So they're able to ult sooner, but they're going to die a lot sooner. The team I'll be using in here is the one on the top left again. It's the Black Order with Omega Red. The idea behind this one, if they don't get the speed advantage, is that there's going to be a lot of turn rewinds, because Omega Red will start with his ultimate. If he gets to his turn, that's going to ability block somebody, do a turn rewind, and can kind of get the upper hand and throw people off. Proxima also has that stun. Then there's the Thanos with the flip. If people underestimate this, it could kind of pull something for me. The next team I want to talk about in here is going to be that 4-piece Extreme X-Men with Black Knight. Now that's going to take the same counter as it does in that stage 1, which is going to be that Superior 6 with the Apocalypse. The big thing though is that they're going to have that 25% less health. They will ult sooner for you, so you do have to be aware of that. However, because that less health, they're going to be taking that ping from Gambit and those retaliates from the Black Knight. So if they aren't careful, this team could actually beat the Superior 6 with the Apocalypse because of that less health that they have. Now, I did face a different version of this team last week. Instead of Gambit being in here, it was actually Sunspot. And the one retaliate right after Green Goblin Classic went, Black Knight hit him and actually took off over half his health with the one hit. My Green Goblin is 7 red star, G18, and level 100, and that Black Knight just decimated him. With the bleeds that the Striker gives, that's even more damage. The reason I made that slight alteration of taking Sunspot out and putting Gambit in here is because those pings from Gambit could actually get you a victory if they end up bringing in that Superior 6 with Apocalypse. If you don't want to use Gambit in here, Sunspot is a fine addition if you want to go that route. That way you can have 2 X-Men teams on your defense. For stage 3, we're going to talk about that Superior Knights team. So it's the 4-piece Superior 6 with the Black Knight. It's that same team I showed you guys back in stage 1 as a really good team that you can place in there. It's more dangerous in this room though, because the counter to this team is that Superior 6 with Apocalypse, and they're going to have that 25% less health. So when the Black Knight does those retaliates, it's going to feel like it hits a lot harder. And then there's going to be the pings that the Green Goblin Classic gives, which is also going to do some major damage to the opponent. Now you are losing a lot on your offense because you are putting Superior 6 on defense in this room. So if you are going to go in that turtle heavy mode, I would honestly use the Superior Knights in this stage as opposed to the stage 1, because that counter they can easily wipe out before they actually kill your Black Knight and your other characters off. Whereas if you put something that's going to be more turtle heavy in stage 1, like say your extreme with Rogue, or if you do just the Gambit Rogue version in stage 1, then the extreme in 3, that's another route that I would personally take if I were to go in that turtle heavy route. And the final team that we're going to talk about for stage 4, we have the 4-piece Out of Time with Dorm. Everybody knows what Black Knight does with those retaliates and the bleeds that he deals, especially to the villains that we were just talking about previously. Dorm is in here, and I would actually make him a fortifier. That way if they try sacking this team, they still need to try to take the health off, otherwise everybody will be getting that revive once. For Cosmic Ghost Rider, he's going to be able to give barrier to the team anytime an ult is used, so that way they're going to survive longer, and it's going to take more efficiency out of the team. As far as counters go, without the Dorm, the New Warriors APOC did work on this. I think that would still work with the Dorm being added on here, but it might be a little bit more tough. The only team that was actually listed on the spreadsheet was Cabal, Kang, Titania. So if you're able to actually take a Cabal, Kang, and Titania on this team, that means that they can't use that elsewhere. So I would actually count that as a win. Stage 5 is Flashbang. This is the stage where if you have blind, your speed is lowered by 5% and your armor by 25%. Ultimate abilities are the way that you apply blind to this stage as well. There aren't a lot of great options in here, but I try to do some digging for us. The first team is going to be that Infinity Watch. They kind of stagger out their ultimates, so that way they can kind of stagger out when they're giving blinds to the enemy. Also, because the Infinity Watch spawns with that safeguard, defense up, and immunity, means that they'll be able to kind of take more punishment from the team, and they don't have to worry about the blinds affecting them as much. This is also the team I will be using in stage 5. The main reason being is the Infinity Watch is just that cockroach team. They never go away, and they just tend to be the efficiency sink of Cosmic Crucible. The next team I want to discuss is going to be that Secret Defender 3-piece with Morgan and Dorm. This team is typically seen in stage 6 currently, however they do have value in stage 5. Because of the ults given the blinds, that does actually help out this team quite a bit. The Ms. Marvel Hardlight once used that ult on the turn 1. Morgan also uses the ult on turn 1 as well, and if those hit 2 different targets, that's blinds already on the enemy, meaning that this team will be able to survive longer than usual. As far as counters for this team, in stage 5, the only thing on the list was the New Warriors with Super Scroll. However, in stage 6, if the positioning is incorrect, usually a New Warriors that's built very high can take this out, or it's going to be something like a Cabal or a Superior 6 team that's going to be countering this. For the third team I want to talk about, it's going to be the 3-piece Extreme X-Men, Rogue, and the Black Knight. This team here is very interesting in stage 5 because the way the blind mechanic works in here, a lot of these characters stagger out their ultimates as well. Forge uses his on turn 1, Nightcrawler's is on turn 2, Gambit's is turn 3, Rogue's is on turn 2, and Black Knight's is on turn 2. So you're really staggering out those blinds, and if the Black Knight does get blind, his retaliates are unavoidable, meaning that the blind doesn't really matter for him. For Rogue, her abilities are also unavoidable. So even if they try to blind those 2 characters, they're still going to be a menace to whoever is attacking them. As far as the 4th team goes, I'm just going to put down the Secret Defenders with Spider-Man Noir. This team already counters the New Warriors unless they add the Lizard onto here. Because of the blinds, if they can actually get the evades off and also do the rewind on Gwen and start blinding people with the ultimates, that's going to be even more of a counter to the New Warriors team. If they end up using New Warriors with Lizard, that is unfortunate. I don't believe that this would end up stopping the Lizard variant even with the blinds coming in. But it is an interesting team that you can definitely put in stage 5 if you want to try to stretch out your teams a little bit more than usual. Stage 6 is the Crossroads. This stage here isn't really that big actually. All characters on crit will apply bleed to the primary target. If any Ghost Rider is an ally and if character has bleed, they gain 20% armor. Also, Ghost Rider, any of them, will get a 20% crit chance buff to all of their allies. It sounds nice, however, I haven't really found a big impact on this. I do think there is some damage issues going on in here. There was the bug initially to where all of the villains were getting that Cabal buff on there. I don't believe it's fixed yet. Hopefully it's going to be fixed the start of this week. The big reason for that though was because Black Cat was doing massive damage in here because she had that 20% crit chance along with the damage buff that the Cabal was supposed to get only. The first team that I want to talk about is going to be that 4-piece Secret Defenders with Spider-Man War. I'm leaning towards using this for my next week defense, mainly because I'm tempted to actually keep Darkhold for offense. People have been starting to use more Black Orders in Stage 4, and Darkhold is a great counter into that Stage 4 Black Order team. So I kind of wanted to test that out. Now I know New Warriors with Lizard is the counter for this, but that means they can't use Lizard with the Superior 6, and they may need to use something like Mysterio or Vulture or something else in there. Like I said, I'm not sold on this team being here, but it's one that I'm actually thinking about, and it still is a fairly good defense. Another good combination of Secret Defenders with other characters is the 3-piece Secret Defenders. That's going to be Black Cat, Ms. Marvel Hardlight, and Ghost Rider Robbie. And then you can add in Morgan and Emma. Those are two pretty good characters that you can add in there. Make sure that you do follow this formation though. You want Morgan all the way on the left or the right, and next to Morgan is going to be Black Cat. That's going to stop the New Warriors counter in here, and the counter that you'd end up having to use into this would end up being a Superior 6. So you're going to pull a high value target from your opponent, so that way they can't use that elsewhere. Now, depending on how you used your Superior 6 and pull a Superior 6, that is going to be the deciding factor in a lot of cases of whether you win or lose Cosmic Crucible. So be sure to keep that in mind, that you use your Superior 6 efficiently, and you can try to pull your opponent's Superior 6 into something else. So if you can have multiple high targets that require a Superior 6 counter, that's something that you kind of want to keep in mind, but try not to stretch your own offense too thin to where you won't be able to full clear your opponent. And another variation of the team 2 that I just went through is going to be the same team, but use Dorm instead of Emma. I think either one of these are good. Emma's going to throw it off because of that whole speed mechanic that she does, so that might pull like an Apocalypse as well, whereas the Dorm version might just pull the Superior 6. So that's something you might want to toy around with, seeing if Emma is better here or Dorm is better here. Or maybe you're using Dorm in another room, then Emma's going to be a good option as well for this stage. And the final team that we're going to discuss for stage 6 is going to be the 4-piece Out of Time, and actually adding in a Ghost Rider Robbie in here. I thought this was very interesting, and this was actually a defense that was on the MSF counter spreadsheet. The interesting thing about this one is going to be the charges that Robbie gets, and there's the 2 Ghost Riders. The crit chance does not stack on here, however, it's given another target, and with all the bleeds that the Black Knight dishes out and the Cosmic Ghost Rider, it's really going to pump the Robbie up to where he's going to be going more. Also, by doing this team, you're able to pull Black Cat onto offense and maybe using her with the Cabal team. So this is a very interesting thing because it's going to give you another offensive weapon while still using Robbie efficiently. As far as the counter on here, on the spreadsheet, this pulled a Superior 6 in Apocalypse team. I don't know if Apocalypse was actually needed on there, but the attack itself, it looked a little bit dicey, so maybe the Superior 6 would have done it by itself, but the Apocalypse was that assurance policy. So I really did like this defense and wanted to put it on this list. Hopefully this video did help you guys out though. I like giving you options of teams that you can actually use in the stages. By giving you 4, I feel that gives you a nice option of how you can break up your defense and fit them in several different positions. I'm going to try to keep this type of video updated to where I can do it about every 2 weeks. If there's any defenses that I missed, or if you have your own ideas as far as what defense you're going to use, put that in the comments below. I'm really curious if there's any defenses that I did miss out on. If you did like this video and you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.